Hi everyone! So I hand stamped these little notepads to include in my shipped orders as a thank you gift. The stitching is completely optional. The last thing I want to do is add more to your to-do list, but I thought it added a really fun fiber element. A video showing how I printed these will be up soon. It was a really fun experiment and I can't wait for you to check that out. If you don't have this exact notepad but want to try this project, the pattern is available as a free download. I'll include the link in the video description. If you feel this tutorial is helpful and the freebie is a good value, please consider signing up for my newsletter or subscribing to this channel. I will cover 3 options to get your notepad ready for the embroidery. The first option might sound a little intimidating, but it's quite easy and simple, and that's to simply freestyle it. You follow the inside line of each letter and pierce holes short in distance from each other. I'd say less than an 1/8 inch. Again, this was very simple to do and no need to overthink it. But if you're uncomfortable freestyling it, keep watching for 2 other alternatives. Let's go over the supplies. Now, some of the supplies you're going to need is some styrofoam. I make my own custom awls, but if you don't want to purchase these from me, there are tons of other options that you could buy online at craft stores. I'll link an option in my video description below, as well as mine. Now, if you really don't want to buy anything, don't want to make any investment, you could do this with a simple push pin. So I'm going to be showing 2 ways. One way is using translucent vellum paper. This option would probably be the easiest way of transferring the pattern onto the little notebook because it's transparent, so you could see where you're lining up the holes. Now, if you don't have transparent paper or vellum paper, you have regular paper, I'm going to be teaching how to do that, and really simple trick to get this to align since you won't really be able to see through the paper. Make sure you print the pattern at 100% scale and then trim it down. The trimming doesn't need to be perfect. We're not going to try to align the edges of the design to the notepad. As I mentioned earlier, these were printed by hand, so the alignment isn't going to be perfect. So I'm not going to cover too much with the vellum option. It is pretty simple because, again, you could see through the vellum. You would just fold your cover like this at the crease, and you will just simply align it. It might be a little bit difficult to see it on video, but I could see that it is aligned, and then you just simply start piercing. The tricky option is when you don't have the vellum paper. So I'm just going to show how to do it with the push pin for now. Until my fingers hurt, I'll switch over to my awl. I will say that for this project, I preferred using the ultra fine awl that I have. I just like having the smaller holes. But if you don't have this ultra fine, just use what you got. So to align this pattern to the notebook, the dimensions of this paper doesn't really matter because I printed these by hand, so they're all a little bit different. So aligning this to that isn't going to really match up for most of these. But what you do with your pin, you're just going to go ahead and start creating some anchoring points. All right, we could do just maybe at the D, and let's do the E here at the bottom. Maybe one there. And then we're going to do the same holes on the pattern. So we did the 2 top for the D, and we did this last one at the bottom for the E, and the top one up here. Okay, so as you could see, I pierced the same holes that corresponds to the design. You're going to take your push pin, put it through the design, and we're going to find that first hole to align it. Now, if you have another push pin, this will make it even easier, but if you don't, what you could do, just hold down the paper there and kind of with your pen, you could feel if the holes are aligning or not. And you kind of just drag the paper to align. And believe it or not, this is actually a very successful way of aligning everything. You will definitely have everything lining up. Okay, so I could feel that everything is in the same place. You could put a piece of washi tape on top to hold it. Or you could just continue holding the paper down with your hand. And now we just start piercing away. Alright, so my finger already hurts, so I'm gonna go ahead and switch over to my awl because I just think it's a little bit quicker. And I'm gonna go ahead and finish. Alright, I'm done piercing all the holes. Now, the moment of truth. Let's see how well this technique helped align to the pattern below, to the design below. As you can see, it did pretty well. It's not too off. And I think for a fun little project, I think this is very acceptable. Now we could just peel this off. And we could start embroidering. So I'm just gonna use 2 strands with some scrap of thread that I have. This is what you don't do. Should have just done it one at a time, but I was trying to be lazy. If you do 1 strand, there's absolutely no problem separating it, but don't do what I do. So 2 strands, I'm gonna double these up to equal 4, and I am using a fine needle. I think this is a tapestry number 24, I believe, or 26, might be a 26. So. Oh, sí. Sí las vi que las tenía ahí, pero pensé que las tiraron. All the embroidery is done in backstitch. You can also try other stitching techniques if you're feeling crafty. I also preferred embroidering this with 2 strands folded over to equal 4, but if you want a finer look, you could just do 1 strand folded over to equal 2. Recording the process made the embroidery a little awkward, but I promise you it's not that bad. Try to keep your ends short, and we are done. I really hope you enjoyed this project. When your notepad is all used up, you can proudly display it as a reminder to get it done.